but today particularly is a very important day back home because today the Supreme Court will deliver its verdict on Article 370. Let's get you the latest from that front. Now, the Supreme Court is set to deliver its verdict in the case challenging the Union government's 2019 decision to repeal the special status of Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 of the Constitution. The Constitution bench, led by Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud, had reserved the judgment on the 5th of September 2023 after an extensive 16-day hearing. The petitioners in the matter had challenged not only the abrogation of Article 370 but also the J&K Reorganization Act, which resulted in the bifurcation of the state into union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Heightened security in the valley regarding the decision on Article 370 and 35A. VIP movements are restricted, including on the national highway. The cyber police issued a social media warning, closely monitoring online activities. In Srinagar district, the deputy magistrates received special instructions for every area, with officers posted to maintain law and order. Now, I'll also be joined by Advocate Ashish Pandey. But in fact, before that, let's quickly take a look at the key arguments that were presented during the hearing. If you have to speak about the arguments in favor, the government argued that the abrogation was necessary to fully integrate Jammu and Kashmir into the Union of India. The government claimed that the valley had prospered in the past 4.5 years and the repeal of Article 370 in August 2019. The government stated that elections were due in Jammu and Kashmir, and once the situation returned to normal, it would revert to full statehood. The centre contended that the abrogation led to a significant reduction in terrorism, infiltration, stone pelting and casualties among security personnel. Now, let's quickly take a look at the arguments against it. The petitioners argued that the union used brute majority in the parliament and executive orders to divide a full-fledged state into union territories, which they claim was an attack on federalism and a fraud played on the Constitution. Petitioners argued that Article 370 had assumed a permanent character after the dissolution of the Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly in 1957. The petitioners challenged the constitutionality of the procedure adopted to repeal Article 370 and the abolition of Jammu and Kashmir's statehood. Let's now quickly go across to Advocate Ashish Pandey. He, in fact, is an advocate from the Supreme Court. He joins me live. Very good morning to you, Mr. Ashish. I'll begin by asking you, how do you see this whole issue surrounding the abrogation of Article 370? And you know, as the Honorable Supreme Court asked, how can a provision which was specifically mentioned as temporary in the Constitution become permanent?
Good morning to you as well. You see, it's a big day, and the line of arguments you just mentioned, that if we go step by step, you said the first argument which was taken before the court, that states, any particular political territory could not be reorganized. This argument is not valid. I mean, although the verdict is pending and we will see what is going to happen in the court, but from legal point of view, you see, there have been many instances in India itself where a state was bifurcated and union territory was created. For example, you see a state of Haryana and a state of Punjab were created, and a union territory of Chandigarh was born. Now, the second line of argument, which you said, that the constitutionality of the mechanism which the government adopted for the purpose of doing this entire exercise is concerned. As far as this question is concerned, obviously, the court will pronounce its verdict whether 370 could be abrogated through 367 route or not. And you see, personally speaking, I feel the kind of development which we have seen post abrogation of 370 in the state of Jammu Kashmir suggests that the government has done a right thing.
Right. Ashish, I'd also like you to speak in depth about the main arguments in favor of the abrogation of Article 370 and about the main arguments against it.
Yes. You see, the arguments which the petitioner took was first the instrument of accession was a conditional instrument of accession. There was not there was never full integration of the state of Jammu Kashmir with the state of India. And the second argument was, even if this position was to be reversed, it could have been only done when the recommendation of Constituent Assembly was there. And the argument was that because the Constituent Assembly dissolved in case of the state of Jammu Kashmir, there was a vacuum, and in that situation, the nature of Article 370 took a permanent status, and because of that thing, the Parliament of India didn't have any power to amend that article or abrogate that article. This was sum and substance of the argument which the petitioner took. Now, from the government of India side, what they said that this article 370 was never meant to be a permanent article. Even the Constitution says that the nature of this article is temporary. And what happened post-independence, when state of Jammu Kashmir acceded into Indian political system, they formed their own constituent assembly for the purpose of drafting of their own constitution. But what happened, and then there was a provision that this constituent assembly could have recommended to the Parliament of India for the purpose of abrogation of Article 370. And once this constituent assembly dissolved without recommending this thing, then this situation evolved into a situation where Article 367 could be used, where by means of a presidential order, Constituent Assembly could be equated with the legislative assembly of the state. And because at that point in time in August 2019, Constituent Assembly was not in power, presidential rule was there in the state, so that power was vested in the Parliament of India, and the Parliament of India suggested to the President of India that Constituent Assembly could be read as the state assembly as well. And once that presidential order was in power, using that particular order, Government of India abrogated Article 370 and said there is no special provision for the state of Jammu Kashmir.
Right. Ashish, do stay with us. In fact,
And
we
then
also have
one more argument which was taken, but that is not a legal argument. See, at times what we have seen in media, most of the time it has been suggested that because the end result of these amendments have been very beneficial for the state of Jammu Kashmir, so this entire constitutional exercise was legitimate. But then in legal parlance, what we say that it just does not justify the means. So we are talking about the constitutionality of the means. Please.
Right. Ashish, I want you to hold on to that thought. I'll come back to you. Do stay on with us. But I also want all our viewers to now listen to several of the reactions coming in. We have Ghulam Nabi Azad, the former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Omar Abdullah, again the former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mehbooba Mufti, the same, Priyanka Chaturvedi, several other reactions coming in. Let's quickly take a listen and then we'll resume the discussion.
इस वक्त तो एक अंदाज़ा ही लगाना है, तो कल 10 बजे जब जजमेंट आएगी, वर्डिक्ट आएगा, तो उस वक्त पता चलेगा कि क्या है कि कश्मीरियों के हक में है, जम्मू कश्मीर के अवाम के हक में है या उनके खिलाफ है। इस वक्त हम यही कह सकते हैं कि हम 2 महीने में या 4 महीने से इंतज़ार नहीं कर रहे हैं। हम गुज़िश्ता 4 साल से ज़्यादा अरसे से इस दिन का इंतज़ार कर रहे थे कि कब सुप्रीम कोर्ट, क्योंकि पहले 3 साल में तो कोई सुनाई हुई नहीं, सिर्फ एक दफ़ा आधे घंटे के लिए सुनवाई हुई थी। और जिसका हम
जब हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट में गए थे 2019 में, तो इंसाफ हासिल करने की उम्मीद लेके गए थे। आज भी हमारे जज्बात वही हैं। हमें बेसब्री से इस दिन का इंतजार था। कल सुबह ऑनरेबल चीफ जस्टिस और उनके साथ 4 ऑनरेबल जजेस जो हैं वो अपना फैसला सुनाएंगे।
देखिए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने पहले ही कई बार एक तो इस मुद्दे को सुनने में बहुत देर कर दी, 5 साल लगाए इस मुद्दे को सुनने में। उसके बाद मैं समझती हूँ कि खुद सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कई बार जो पुराने हमारे जजमेंट्स आई हैं उसमें ये कहा गया है कि 370 को जम्मू कश्मीर की कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली के बगैर कोई नहीं हटा सकता है जी। तो मुझे लगता है ये फैसला तो सीधा होना चाहिए कि ये
370 धारा एक टेम्पररी मेजर लगाई गई थी। खुद पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी ने कहा था उस समय पर जब जम्मू और कश्मीर पे काफी विवाद चल रहा था। हमारी मान्यता स्पष्ट ये थी, शिवसेना की भूमिका ये रही है कि 370 को हटाने का समय आ गया था और वो हटाया गया। उसके चलते जो वादे भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने किए थे, जब हटाया गया तो हम उसके समर्थन में थे, पर वादा ये किया गया था कि प्रजातंत्र बहाल होगा, वहां पे इलेक्शंस जल्द से जल्द होंगे, जनता की सरकार बनकर आएगी, जो आतंकी हमले हैं वो खत्म होंगे, कश्मीरी पंडित भाई बहन, जो हमारा एजेंडा बाला साहेब ठाकरे जी के समय से रहा है कि वो वापस अपने घर पहुंचे, वो पूरा करेंगे। पर मैं खुद ही जम्मू गई थी जब टारगेटेड किलिंग के शिकार हमारे कश्मीरी पंडित भाई बहन हुए हैं, तो उनके साथ जो नाइंसाफी अब तक चल रही है वो दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। और जो वादा किए थे 370 हटाने के बाद वो आज तक पूरे नहीं किए गए हैं, वो मैं मानती हूं जनता के साथ एक खिलवाड़ हुआ है।
Well, now coming back to you, Ashish, I understand, you're presenting a legal point of view, but I want to know from you, I can see you smiling, but I want to know from you, violence has been at an all-time low with almost no incidents of stone pelting being reported in the last 4 years. Now, that's a fact. Doesn't it show that the people of Jammu and Kashmir have accepted the abrogation?
Yes, less or more, I agree with you. The people of Jammu and Kashmir, I mean, a few of them I know personally, they're good friends, and they have accepted what 370 abrogation of 370 has bring to the valley. In fact, you see, the main petitioner, the ex-IAS officer, he has also withdrawn his petition. He is no longer contesting that this entire exercise was unconstitutional. Now, you see, Priyanka ji mentioned one very important fact. See, at the one end, legally, I personally believe the judgment is yet to come. That entire exercise was constitutionally valid. The parliament exercises the sovereign function of any nation, and that will of the people, the sovereign will of the people, is spoken through the parliament, that the days of 370 are not now over, and there should be full integration of the state of Jammu Kashmir into Union of India. Now, the second question, which is very pertinent, and that is pertinent from the point of view what verdict is going to come today also, is what are the rights of the resident of Jammu Kashmir. I mean, now the statehood has been taken away, but the Honorable Prime Minister himself has said that the government's intention is to restore the complete statehood and ensure that the free and fair elections are taking place as soon as possible. We will have to see what Honorable Supreme Court is commenting on that, and what kind of process is being followed by the government thereafter.
All right. Before I let you go, I have two more questions for you. First, I'd like you to answer what were the constitutional implications of Article 370 from a legal standpoint?
See, 370 says that the state of Jammu Kashmir enjoyed kind of autonomy. When we say autonomy, it means the rules and regulations and the laws which are framed or enacted by the Parliament of India were not directly applicable in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The state assembly had the power to whether adopt those laws for the purpose of implementation in state of Jammu Kashmir, or they could have enacted separate laws. So that was the situation. And apart from that, there was one particular article 35A, which said that the state assembly had the power to enact certain special provisions for the purpose of residents of the state, but similar provisions we say in case of other states as well. But as far as that autonomy was concerned, that became a political tool, not in India, but internationally. And you see, because of that thing, there was so much unrest and violence in the state of Jammu Kashmir. And I believe that post-abrogation of 370, as we are seeing these days, the state will return to normalcy, and then we see that the fruits of development will reach to the valley.
Right. Quickly, Ashish, I want to know from you, what should we expect from today's Supreme Court ruling?
I
know it's a difficult one, but what do you think?
I should not predict what is going to be there, but I believe less or more it will be in line with what government is expecting.